Welcome back, lovely people, to the Sisterhood in Session podcast. I've just been having a lovely little catch-up chat with my guest today, and we were trying to figure out how our paths have crossed, and we haven't got very far, to be honest. We're struggling a little bit, but all I know is that I'm very much looking forward to sharing this lovely lady's story with you. So, Dina Behrman, you are very welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Very
It's
excited
a
to be here.
pleasure. It's really lovely to be having a chat with you, finding out more about you and how you've ended up doing what you're doing now. Speaking of which, if you'd be okay to just introduce yourself, tell everybody what you do, and then we will rewind the clock back.
Yeah, so I'm Dina Behrman. I'm a former journalist turned PR strategist. So I run a PR agency and consultancy, and I work with entrepreneurs and founders to get them seen and heard in the press.
It's such a great topic for business owners to explore, and I'm sure we're going to have some really juicy conversations about what you're doing now. But we have to find out what's led you here. So, where back in time are you going to take us?
Well, I think probably when I was in my early 20s, I was a trainee news reporter on my local newspaper, and that's where I started out my kind of media career. So that was a good 20 something years ago.
Is that what you always wanted to do? Did you go to school
Yes.
thinking that that's for me?
Yeah, I always really loved stories. I loved books. My mum always used to say that she reminds me when I was a kid, I wouldn't go to sleep unless there was a book under my pillow. I was like obsessed with
Oh,
books.
oh, I
So I
love
always loved
that.
stories. I loved writing stories. And then when I was about 14 or so, and we were doing work experience at school, and we all were sort of applying for different work experiences, and I really wanted to get some work experience with the local newspaper, and I it was quite competitive. I didn't manage to get it. I got some office work experience instead, which wasn't very exciting. So I actually wrote off to the local newspaper myself, and said, I want to come and do some work experience. And I went along and I got to shadow some of the journalists. And I was like, yeah, this is what I want to do. And years later, I applied to the same newspaper for a job. I'd done like a postgraduate diploma in journalism after going to uni.
Yeah.
And initially I got turned down. They didn't have any jobs, but I was looking back, I was actually very just very determined. And so even though I was turned down, I I'd actually done some training, and it wasn't the accredited training that they wanted, but I was like, sod it, I'm going to try again. Wrote back to them again, and at that point the stars aligned, and they said, our editorial assistant is going on maternity leave and we need someone to cover, and it's normally an admin job, but because you're interested in writing, if you do this, we'll let you do some writing as well. And I can only think
Ah,
they must have had someone in and it had fallen through at the last minute, because they were literally like, can you start next week? And I was like, yes,
yes,
I'm
I
free.
can.
And that was the start of my career. And I just got very involved in, there was another magazine in the same office that was being published. And so I went and spoke to their editor, and I was like, can I do some writing for you? And I was having to do all this admin, and this was back in the day. We used to have to like write up the scores from the local cricket matches and football matches and things like that, which was incredibly like boring, labour intensive, almost like data entry kind of thing. But then on the side, I was writing for them as well, and I built up my career, got qualified, became a senior reporter, and that's how I started off. And then started writing after that for national publications, and ended up becoming a commissioning editor on a national newspaper supplement. But it all started because I was quite, I guess, looking back, I was quite tenacious when I was
Yes.
younger.
So I'm a great believer in everything happens for a reason, and life plays out in the way that it's meant to. I think the universe has grand plans for us all. I don't know if you
Yeah.
feel that way about things,
Yeah.
but yeah, as so many things have happened in my life because right place, right time, I had
Yeah.
determination. I wasn't willing to just let something go.
Yeah.
So yeah, if that's you right now and you're facing something that feels like it's a little bit too far away, just keep going. It's a real
Yeah.
great tip to give people is that
Yeah. I
never
even
say
found the
die,
other day,
attitude.
I was looking through some old like letters and documents from years ago, and I found these rejection letters from magazines that I'd written to ask for work experience after I'd sort of been working on my local paper and I was wanting to move on to nationals. And I found these rejection letters, and it was like so competitive to even get work experience that there were places that I was writing to and I couldn't even, like, even working for free was
Yes.
so hard. And I looked back, I'd forgotten all about them, and I looked at them and I was like, oh, I'm proud of myself that I kept
As you,
going.
you should be. And I think, yeah, it's all experience, isn't it?
Yeah,
And I don't ever look at anything as negative or as you've failed at something. All of those letters that you wrote got you further towards your goal and what you wanted to achieve and what you envisaged for your future. So I think as a business owner, whatever your business is, you've just got to keep on going, right? It's just
100%. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh, so that's such a lovely story, and I love the book under your pillow. I was an avid reader as well. At school, I was constantly told that I wasn't really very good at anything, and actually, I was told I was going to fail English language, and I ended up getting
Oh,
an A. I was the last year of
good
O
for
levels,
you.
and
Yeah.
I love writing, storytelling. That's literally what the Sisterhood Networking Group is all about: is
Mm.
encouraging ladies to share their stories to help them move forward with their businesses. So I can really identify with what you're sharing. So you got your dream job. Did it work out being your dream job? Is that how the ball started rolling and it was all positive?
I mean, to be honest, it was incredible experience. But obviously, when you're working at a local newspaper, the pay was not good at all. But I was like, I'm just happy to have this work.
Yes.
But it's a lot of hours actually, and you're expected to do weekends and evenings, and you're going off and reporting on things like local council meetings and local school fairs and these things that aren't necessarily super glamorous. So on the one hand, it was like, you're not being very well paid and it's a lot of hours. And we used to do things, we would take it in turns to be on duty on a weekend. And whoever was on duty, you had to call up local police station, local fire station, what's happened over the weekend, tell us your news. And so you're doing all these things that aren't necessarily super exciting. But on the other hand, I look at some of the opportunities that I had. I got to go out with the police on a police drugs raid, and they took me with them in their convoy, and I wasn't allowed in the actual premises because they're all there in like full on like riot gear and they're
Oh, it's like
battering
an
down the
episode of
door.
FBI.
Yeah.
Love.
And I'm just standing there watching it all.
Oh my
And
God,
they're
how does
like,
that make you feel when you're like in the thick of all of that?
they'd given us a briefing beforehand and we knew like it would all be safe, they wouldn't put us in danger or anything like that. So it was actually very exciting to kind of
What an
see it firsthand.
experience. Yeah.
And it's the kind of thing you would never normally get to do. I went to a local prison and interviewed some of the inmates that were on a rehabilitation program, these young guys who had fallen into the wrong crowds, got into, basically most of them had difficult upbringings, had got into drugs, had ended up stealing to pay for drug habits. They weren't bad guys. This was like a category C prison, so it wasn't like the most serious offenders, but they were on this particular rehab program that the prison really wanted to get more publicity for. So I went into the prison, and you're going through the kind of gates where they let you through one and it closes behind you, and then you go through the next. You've got to hand in your phone, like the whole thing. Again,
Wow.
the kind of experience I would never have otherwise. And then I was meeting these people that I would never normally speak to in normal life, and these guys were like really sincerely wanting to make something of themselves, and it was really amazing to have the opportunity to connect with them and hear their stories and what they've been through, and how a lot of it was just wrong
Wrong
person,
place.
wrong time, wrong place, that kind of thing, and they
Yeah.
wanted to better themselves. So I look back at it actually with quite a lot of fondness of things that I got to do and experiences I got to have, conversations that I got to have that I wouldn't normally have had. And not all of it was exciting because, like I say, we're going to council meetings and you're reporting on, and some of the stuff they're discussing is like, we want to change the paint colour of the council offices. They would literally bring that up, and you'd be sitting there and they're discussing it. But I got to have some really, really amazing experiences with hindsight that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
Yeah, and I guess with that kind of career, you're playing the long game, aren't
Yeah,
you? You know you've got to put the effort in. I guess it's a little bit similar to, working in TV when you go in as
yeah,
a tea girl and you're making
yeah,
all the cups of teas and you're running around, looking after everyone, going out to, to Costa and doing all
yeah,
the menial tasks and obviously and then
yeah.
being given the boring stories to report on, knowing that each little bit that you do is getting you further towards your goal. And did you have a grand plan? Did you picture where you wanted to be and what you wanted to be doing further down the line?
I knew I wanted to write for national publications, and I think I loved the idea. Probably in the back of my mind, I was like, I want to write for like the Times or the Telegraph or something like that. And it was really a process of just working my way up. And I had situations where I was making the tea for people, and I remember after the local newspaper, I started working on started out doing shifts on celebrity magazines because that was kind of the easiest way in. A couple of my friends had gone down that route from the local paper, so that was kind of something that I could jump to from the local paper. And I remember being on a photo shoot with a actress who had been in it was Stephanie Beacham. She'd been in Dallas or Dynasty,
My
one of
God,
them.
yes, Dynasty. I remember.
And
I'm that old, but I loved it. Yeah.
she sent me out to buy her a coffee, and I was there to interview her, and she was like, I, I want a
I'll have a
mocha
latte, please.
cappuccino, and I had to, and there was
Oh,
no
yeah.
coffee shops nearby. I had to get in a taxi and go and get her a coffee, but you do these things, and each job that I had led me to the next thing, led me to the next thing, and it was really a case of working my way up.
Yeah. Was there ever a time where you thought, what am I doing? Just what am
Oh
I
yeah,
doing?
yeah, definitely. I had moments like that, and
And
there
did you ever
was
think of quitting, or were you so laser focused, right? I've just got to keep on going.
there were moments where I was like, what am I doing? And, you know, is this in line with my kind of values and the things that I
Yeah.
want to do? I remember at one point I got sent to Sophie Wessex had just had a baby, which I've got a feeling whoever it is just had their 18th birthday, so that's how long ago this was. But I remember being sent to the hospital. Obviously you're not allowed inside the hospital, so you're standing outside the hospital with this group of paparazzi and reporters, and we just had to stand there all day and wait for Prince Edward to drive out in his car. And I just remember thinking, what am I doing? This is not what I,
Must be
I
more to
love telling
life
people.
than this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love interviewing people. I love telling people stories. And that was a particular shift that I'd been sent on. And I just thought, what am I doing? And the day went on, and we're just waiting and waiting. And at one point he drove past, he didn't speak to us. And I remember phoning up to my boss from the paper, and they were like, you just need to keep waiting there just in case he comes back. And you're sort of standing, it was kind of in the car park of this hospital with a load of other journalists, and just thinking, no, this is not this is not what I signed up for. This is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
And so I think sometimes it is knowing that, yes, you want to do the things that are going to progress you, but also looking at, what feels good and what aligns with what you truly want to do.
Yeah.
And then saying no to those opportunities. I didn't
Yeah.
work for that paper after that because I was like, no,
No.
I don't want to do that.
And
And we
that's
had people driving past shouting as well because they saw a load of the paparazzi, and it's kind of like paparazzi scum. And I was like,
Oh
oh my
no.
God, I don't want to be part of
I
it.
don't want to be paparazzi scum. Thank
No.
you. At such an interesting point, actually, but, putting firm boundaries in place. What are you willing to, how far are you willing to go? What are you willing to
Yeah,
do to get you further to your goal? But equally, in the same breath, I would also say, as a business owner, sometimes you've got to do what the majority of the population aren't willing to do to be
yeah,
able to be successful, because
yeah,
it is hard, isn't it?
yeah.
Pursuing your dream, whether it's as a journalist or, a PR expert, or, doing something that I do, launching a networking group. I started with one meeting in my local hometown nearly 4 years ago. I
Mm,
knew I was onto something fairly quickly, and was, relentless in the pursuit of the goal that I wanted to achieve. But yeah, you don't want to compromise on your your
yeah,
standards, do you, to achieve things
yeah.
sometimes? Yeah, yeah. So let's carry on the story. What
Um,
happened? What happened next?
So I was working across a few different celebrity magazines, and that was incredible. I got to go to red carpet events. I got to interview different celebrities, politicians, movie stars. So that was amazing to have those opportunities. I do also look back and think I couldn't do it now, because you're having to go out and have a lot of late nights. And in my 20s, it was great.
Yeah.
Um, I couldn't do it now though. Like, I'm a
Oh,
mum, I've got kids, I get tired
yeah.
easily. So that was amazing. And basically, I ended up landing a job as the commissioning editor of a national newspaper supplement. And after doing that, I was there for a couple of years. They had a round of redundancies, and I had been doing a bit of freelance journalism on the side, and that's where I actually got to start writing for places like the Times and the Telegraph and the Guardian and the Mail on Sunday. And that was me sending out pitches. So rather than going into the office and working, I was sending out pitches to these editors and saying, would you be interested in a story on this? And I ended up focusing a lot on writing about health and well-being, because it was a mix, I think, of those were some of the stories that had come to me, and then I had quite an interest in that. And so I was doing a mix of what they call like real life stories, so interviewing normal everyday people, business owners, people running charities, people running networking groups, etc., about the work that they're doing, and also people talking about different elements of health and wellness. And I did that for a few years. And when I was freelancing, I got to the point where I didn't have this work from the newspaper anymore. And the freelancing was very up and down, as anyone who's ever freelanced will probably know, quite feast
Yeah.
and famine. And by this point, I'd been in journalism for about 10 years. And I was thinking, I really need to diversify. So I started actually doing some PR and copywriting on the side, because I'd had all this experience of doing journalism, and I'd started joining these different Facebook groups for business owners, and realised that there's a lot of people there that they could benefit from using PR in their business and publicising themselves.
Yeah.
So I kind of
It's a
started doing that
natural
alongside.
progression, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it
From
felt very
journalism to PR.
organic.
Yeah, yeah. Let's delve into PR a little bit then, because I think anyone listening that has never really explored it, or I think that the most common misconception is that PR is for someone that's really well established, earning six figures, knocking it out the park in every sense. That would be the only story that journalists would be interested in. But I know, having explored PR myself, that that's not true, is it?
Yeah, yeah. And I think, honestly, that's the thing that holds so many people back. I think a lot of people wouldn't even consider the idea of PR. It's not even on their radar. And then if other people maybe are thinking about PR, I think the thing that comes up is, I'm not well known enough. I don't have a big enough following. Why would a journalist be interested in what I have to say? And I work with people that, I don't work with people that are brand new in business, because I think that you do need to know what you're selling, what your offer is, who your ideal client is. But if you've been in business for a year or so, and you know, this is what I do, this is who I work with, this is who I help, then you can absolutely benefit from publicity, and you can use PR. And I always say to clients, the two main things it comes down to is sharing your story and sharing your expertise. That is what journalists are interested in. way more than do you have a huge following, do you, are you well known, and all of that. Actually, as long as you can share your story and your expertise, then journalists will love to feature you.
Yeah, that's such great advice. And yeah, I do think, like I said, there's a lot of yeah, misinformation about, what's involved and how you can explore it, how you can get involved in it. But you're absolutely right. And this is why you're here chatting to me today, is because you have an amazing story. We all have stories. We've
Yes.
all started off somewhere, been through some stuff. Chances are, if you're 40s, 50s, there's going to be stories to share.
Yeah.
And you might think to yourself, well, my story is not that interesting. I'm sure no one's really gonna want to know, but it makes you who you are, and it defines you, your journey, and where you're heading. And we are interested, aren't we?
Yeah. Yeah. I think that so many people, you're right, are saying either I don't have a story or my story's not interesting enough. And everyone has a story because, like you say, it's literally the journey that you've been on that has led you to be doing what you're doing now. And so we've all been on that journey, and some people have had more kind of dramatic ups and downs. It doesn't need to be a really dramatic story. And I talk to clients all the time where, so if I start working with a client one-to-one or in my group program, they'll fill out an onboarding questionnaire, and then quite often they'll write, what they've been through and the journey they've been on, and then we'll get on a call and they'll be like, oh, but I don't really have a story. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you've just shared all this stuff, in the
Isn't
form
it
about
funny? You just
you've
you
gone
get that,
through.
yeah, mental
Yeah,
block
and
in your
they
head.
don't see it for themselves. And it's like, maybe you've been through an illness, a health condition, a divorce, a relationship breakdown, a reinvention. Sometimes it's like people that have just pivoted, changed directions, gone through redundancy, like all these life events.
Yeah.
That is your story.
Yeah, yeah. Let's talk about being an expert as well, because someone said to me once, I was involved in a mastermind and we were talking about that. And she said, you are an expert if you know more than the average person sat in a room. So that literally defines you as an expert. If you can talk confidently about something more than the person you're sat next to in a room full of people, then literally that qualifies you as an expert. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think it's true because you don't have to be the leading expert in the world to be featured in the press. And I've had clients that have been featured everywhere from like Forbes, Business Insider, Telegraph, Glamour magazine, Stylist, wherever. And they're not all the leading expert in the world at what they do. They just know more than the average person on the street about their subject.
Exactly.
And I remember I had a client who was a nutritionist, and when she was interviewed by a magazine journalist, she got off the interview and she said, oh, I can't believe how basic those questions were, because she was just asking me basic stuff about protein and carbohydrate. And I said, it's basic to you because you're an expert, you do this day in,
Yes.
day out. Journalists don't know all this stuff. A lot of them are generalists, they're writing about lots of different subjects. And even if they are specialists, they don't have the training and the background that you have. And I think that anyone who has an area of expertise can be an expert, and can genuinely share insight that is going to be useful to journalists and to their readers as well.
Yes. And let's think from a reader perspective, you don't know what you don't know, right? So
Yeah.
you're reading an article that is, for example, about nutrition. Some of us just need a bit of a steer, a bit of guidance. We don't need to know all the tiny, intimate details about, how to manage your macronutrients and all that kind of thing. We just want to know, what do I need to eat to feel better, lose weight,
Yeah.
maybe manage my hormones, whatever it is that you're looking to get advice on. And that will be what journalists will hook into, won't it? It's just, yeah, being able to advise people sometimes in the most basic way.
Yeah, and I think there's so many different ways you can be featured as well. So I'll have clients where they land like a full length article and they get interviewed. I just had a client that was interviewed by a journalist for a big piece in the Daily Mail, and it's like a half-hour interview, and he's asking loads of questions. And that's going to be her talking about, the work that she does. She's a coach, and how she helps her clients and all of these sorts of things. But equally, I have clients where they offer some expert commentary. So one of the women in my group program just got quoted in Forbes. All she did was answered a couple of questions via email, just like quick questions, and she's ended up with, just a couple of like lines, but it's in Forbes and it mentions her and her business and links to her website. She didn't have to share very much. So there's so many different ways you can be featured, whether it's you write a guest article, you're interviewed, you give some expert commentary, and some of it is going to be more of a deep dive, some of it's going to be just like quick answers, quick insight.
Yeah, that's just all really helpful. And I think, just like we were saying at the start of our chat when you were talking about your experiences of how you got started, I think you can probably relate that to personal experience with PR in terms of tenacity. It's not enough just to send that single email introducing yourself and going, well, fingers crossed they reply.
Yeah.
You have to be quite tenacious, don't you? You have to be
Yeah.
constantly on top of it.
Yeah, and I think don't be scared to follow up. I've landed so much media coverage just from sending a follow up email, and I think people feel quite uncomfortable because they don't want to be like annoying and they don't want to be seen as being a bit of a pest. And actually, I know from being a journalist, like your inbox is full, you've got so many deadlines and things coming in, and you miss things. And so, actually, sending a follow up is being really helpful to the journalist,
Yes.
and it pays off so many times. It's always worth just sending that follow up and
Yes.
checking in. Were you interested in this? There's a new study that's come out, so it would make it really timely. Just like a quick check in, just giving them that little reason. Oh, why would this be useful now? Because if you have pitched something to a journalist, you want to give them that reason to run the article now. That's how you're going to have your best chance of them actually saying yes, rather than being like, it's a nice idea, I might come back to it. If you can give them a reason to run it now and show them that there was a new study that's about this subject, or there's someone in the press talking about this, or there's a new TV show. It could even be like the plot of
The
a soap
drama,
opera, a
yes.
drama, something like that, a film that's come out, a celebrity talking about it, whatever it is. And it's like, this makes it relevant. That's what journalists want. This makes it relevant. So don't be scared to follow up. Always send a follow up. You're not going to annoy them. Actually, you're going to help them. They're going to be thankful for it. But also, if you are pitching something to the press, how can you make it really relevant right now?
Yeah, that's such great advice. Hooking it into something that's happening in the real world that is going to make it more urgent because
Yeah,
those moments are fleeting, aren't they? It'll be in the press for a little bit, then it'll disappear, and you'll have missed your window of opportunity potentially.
yeah,
But I love, one of my favorite sayings is the fortune is in the follow up, and it applies to
yeah,
any aspect of your business, whether it's, chasing down that the PR, or whether it's a client or someone that maybe you've reached out to that you really want to work with. Inboxes are busy. We were literally
yes,
having this
yeah,
conversation ourselves before we started chatting.
yeah,
We get bombarded with messages left, right, and centre. And I feel like I should have a disclaimer on my profile now that says average response time to messages is any time between 2 and 20 days,
yeah,
because sometimes things just get missed, they get lost,
yeah.
or I'll speed read something and think, oh, I must reply to that later, but then that gets buried in amongst a load of other stuff.
Same.
So yeah,
I love it when people follow up. I'm like,
yes,
yes, thank you for the nudge because I meant
yes.
to do this.
Yes, exactly that. So don't be afraid of it. You're not being a pest. It's not icky. I have an unwritten rule of I do a three strikes and you're out kind of philosophy. I'll message 3 times, and then if I can see that messages have been read. Obviously, it's a bit more difficult with email because you're not sure sometimes, but 3 messages, and then I think, okay, well, we'll rest it for a bit, and we can always revisit it later.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
that's a good little rule of thumb I find to follow. So let's carry on with your story. So we've delved into PR a bit. I hope that those tips, I'm sure, will be really helpful for people. So How have you found that transition from journalism to PR? Is it everything you wanted it to be? Are you loving it? Are you glad you made the shift?
Yeah, so I initially launched my business, kind of fully focused on my business. It was after I had my eldest daughter, which was about 12 years ago now. So I've been doing this for quite a while. And I decided after having my daughter that I was ready to go all in on the business. And I'd done 10 years as a journalist. And that had just come to its kind of natural end. I was getting a bit disheartened with doing all the kind of freelance pitching, and I was really passionate about actually working with business owners to help them to do PR. So I launched the business and kind of went all in on working with founders and entrepreneurs. And I have a handful of clients I work with where I do the PR for them. So those are people that are really established in business. They've been in business a long time, and they just want to hand it all over to myself and my team, and we do all of their PR for them. But then I also have business owners that are not quite ready to hire an agency, and I love helping them to be able to pitch the press themselves. I call it a done with you option because I feel like no one necessarily wants to go off and just do a course. I think we've all got a bit of like course fatigue sometimes. So
Yeah.
actually, I love working alongside them, and I will introduce them to journalists. I will, give them media requests. I will help them write their pitches, give them feedback, that kind of thing. And I love it. And I get such a buzz when I see my client's name in the press. Like, that never gets
Uh,
old for me. I
it
love
must be
it.
the best feeling when a client gets a win, when you get those messages going, guess what? Or something comes into you saying we would really like to feature so and so. It must be a lovely feeling.
Yeah, because I think it's knowing that I'm essentially helping them to share their message with more of the people that need to hear it. And I think that there's so many incredible business owners doing amazing work in the world, and often not enough people know they exist. And being able to get your message out beyond social media, thinking of other platforms where you can, go into a magazine and you're getting in front of like 300,000 of their readers, or on a website that has however many million unique visitors, and it's being able to reach more of the people that need to hear from you. Being able to position yourself as an authority, because I think PR is so powerful for that positioning part. And I think at the moment, it's really difficult to have that trust from potential clients. They need to feel like they can trust you before they buy from you, and so having that authority positioning really helps with that trust.
Yeah, yeah, it really does.
And
Yeah.
now there's this AI part, which is really interesting, that AI actually pulls its citations from earned media. So when you get featured in the press, that helps you to be recommended on ChatGPT, Claude, etc. And this is something I'm just kind of learning more about at the moment. And I have clients that if I look on Claude or ChatGPT and type in, who's I've got a client who runs drama classes and drama camps for children, and she's based in Dublin. So if you go on ChatGPT or Claude and you say top drama camps for children in Ireland or in Dublin, she comes up top on those on
Amazing.
ChatGPT and Claude, and it's because she's had some really strong media coverage, and I think that is really exciting.
Yeah, it really should be part of your strategy, shouldn't it, as a business owner? If you're not dipping your toe into PR, you are missing a trick, aren't you? Because yeah, it helps with, as you say, the whole SEO, driving you forward and putting you in front of the people that really need to see your details. Yeah. Um, what was I going to ask you? I was going to say, I would love to know about business in terms of your experiences running your own business. So how have you found it? Because working as a journalist, yes, you're self-employed, but you're kind of under that umbrella, aren't you, being looked after? But when you launched your PR business, suddenly you're in charge. How does that translate for you? How have you found that shift?
The biggest lesson that I needed to learn ironically, was about getting visible myself
Yes. Oh my
because
God.
I have worked behind the scenes. I've worked with a lot of sort of multi six, seven figure industry leaders working behind the scenes doing their PR, and I'm always happy behind the scenes. And it took a long time for me to be comfortable with putting myself out there. I'm more of an introverted kind of character, and it never came naturally to me to kind of put myself out there. And at the start of my business, that actually really negatively impacted me because I wasn't getting in front of enough potential clients, and I was kind of playing small and I was hidden. And there's only so much you can do behind the scenes, you know, even if you're getting referrals and things like that to actually grow your business. And so it took me a while to get there, but I was working with a coach basically. He sort of reflected back to me and was like, you know, you need to be walking your talk.
Yes.
At the very least, you should be practicing what you preach, and also you should be getting yourself out there. And I was very resistant to it. Once I did it, I got myself featured as a business owner, as a PR expert in places like Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Huffington Post, started being interviewed on lots of different podcasts. It was a massive game changer for me. Partly it's the positioning part. I think that's huge. I think people want to buy from someone that they view as an expert. I think people will pay a premium to work with someone that they view as an expert, someone that they view as an actual authority. Also, of course, it's just getting in front of other audiences, other people being able to find you. I've had people that have found me that would never have found me otherwise. And they're
Yes.
like, oh, I heard you being interviewed on this podcast, or I read your article. So that has
Yeah.
been a massive learning curve for me.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, because you're used to doing it for everybody else, getting used to, yeah, putting yourself out there. It is a learning experience, isn't it? Yeah, and I'm a huge fan of personal branding. And making sure that the ladies that I network with know that they are a brand as well as whatever it is that they're an expert in.
Yeah.
And that's a real one to get your head around, isn't it? Because yeah, it is hard sometimes to present yourself to the world and go, hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is what I'm passionate about. And if you are a bit of an introvert, you really do have to muster up some courage, don't you, to
Yeah.
to present yourself.
Yeah, and it can feel really uncomfortable because it's out of your comfort zone, like putting yourself out there, and it can feel quite vulnerable. Um, if it's not, you know, it never felt natural for me to be like, look at me, and then you sort of worry, what are people going to think? Are they going to think I'm bragging, or are they going to think that, you know, you worry about judgment and all these things that come up. And to be fair, they come up for most people with visibility. And I have clients where they're like, but if I do this, am I going to get comment? You know, if it's a news article, they're going to be trolls, they're going to be comments. And I think you just have to focus on the end goal, and you just have to focus on, I want to get my message out to more people. And this is the way to do it, and you've got to do
Yeah.
it. And sort of,
Focusing on the positives rather than the
yeah.
negatives, I think.
Yeah, because they
Um,
always outweigh the negatives. It's
yeah,
always worth it when you do it.
yeah,
It builds your business in whatever way. You don't know what result you're going to get from PR. That's the thing. And I've had clients where I had one of my clients brought in 1,500 new leads from one particular article. You don't know that that's going to happen. It's not going to happen every time, but you've got to at least put yourself out there and give yourself the opportunity for it to happen. And maybe that happen, maybe it'd be something smaller, but it's going to impact your business in a positive way.
yeah. I think yeah, you do have to take a few risks sometimes, don't you? It might be that what you want to share potentially could be perceived to be a bit controversial, or your views might be. It could go either way. You will get positive comments, but inevitably, people crawl out of the woodwork about all sorts of things. I find it quite bizarre.
Mm.
I've had a post go viral recently, all about a delivery that I had from Tesco's,
Oh wow.
and the comments just went off, and I've never had that
Crazy.
experience before. And I think you do just have to keep your blinkers on. Don't buy into the negativity because you don't need to. if what you're sharing it means something to you, and you can just ignore the trolls because that comes with building your business and building your profile, doesn't it? It's inevitable that there will be positive responses, but also you're going to have to deal with some negative stuff too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think knowing, coming back to why you're doing this, just keeping in
Yes.
mind this is my why. This is why I want to do this, and knowing that
Yes.
that makes it worth it.
Yeah, yeah, the why, always the why. Remember, keep that in the forefront of your mind whenever you're dealing with anything that you would prefer not to be dealing with.
Yeah.
We've almost run out of time. I'm going to chuck in another cheeky question, which I do with some of my guests because I find that this one is an interesting one to ask certain people. And I'm going to ask you because of what you shared at the start. What do you think, little Dina, back then hiding a book under her pillow, would think of the Dina that's now doing this amazing work and the business that you've built, and all these wonderful opportunities that you're embracing but also offering to your clients. What do you think young Dina would make of you now?
I mean, I think she would be shocked and pleasantly surprised. Um, I, yeah, like I always knew I wanted to do something in the media and something around like the storytelling part of it. And I probably wouldn't have guessed at that time that I would have had my own business and it would have been PR. But actually, I do get to help people tell their stories, and so they're that's kind of come full circle, and I think she'd be proud of what and the thing is, it's not been straightforward. There's definitely been highs and lows, ups and downs, and there has been moments. You said about wanting to chuck it in with the journalism. There's been moments having my business where I've had enough of this. I want to chuck it in.
Yeah,
Um, but
but you didn't.
I didn't. I'm still here. I've kept going,
Yay!
and knowing that I get to make that impact and help my clients to make that impact as well.
Yeah. It's difficult sometimes when you're in a business, particularly when you're a solo business owner, and I am terrible at this as well, so I put my hands up, to actually sit in it and stop and go, yeah, actually, I'm doing a really good
Yeah,
job. I'm rubbish at it. And I'm sure you're the same.
yeah,
You approach every day, you look at your calendar, this is what I've got going on, this is what I need to chase up, this is what I need to follow up with, all the things that we've said. But actually, sometimes just stopping for a moment, observing what's going on around you and going, look at me go. Are you ever able to do that? Do you find that difficult like I do?
it is definitely hard. And what I've done over the years is I have like a little folder on my desktop, on my computer desktop, and I'll save kind of testimonials or just like nice comments, that clients have posted and things like that. And I think sometimes when you are having, you know, difficult days and things like that, it's just looking at those and reminding yourself, like, actually, I'm doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, documenting it because obviously you've got a young family. I've got a family as well. I definitely feel like I'm creating a legacy for them, and I hope that, in years to come, they will look at what I'm doing right now and the journey that I'm going on and be able to go, yeah, my mum was quite cool. And
Yeah.
I'm sure your kids think I mean, do they know your story? Do they know about all the celebrities? Do you talk about it with them?
I've mentioned some of them, and there's certain people that they wouldn't have. I was like, I interviewed Tony Blair when he was Prime Minister, and they're like, what?
Tony who now?
But
Yeah.
I was like, I interviewed Adele. That's quite cool.
Oh, that is
Um,
cool.
yeah.
That is really cool.
But I think actually my eldest really likes the idea of having her own business, and I love that for her, and I'd really
Yes.
love to encourage that.
Yeah.
Whatever she wants to do, if she could actually do something where she's her own boss, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, definitely. I think schools should really embrace entrepreneurialism more than they do. We're still very antiquated, aren't we, with the whole, career day and yeah, it should be encouraged more. And I
Yeah,
love that the next generation are probably going to be a generation that are much more, yeah, more risk takers,
yeah.
more adventures, more amazing memories to be made. It's been such a great chat, but we have pretty much run out of time. Before I let you go, though, I've got to ask you my two questions that I ask everybody that comes on to chat to me. So, my first question to you, lovely Dina, is there one thing that you wish you'd known before you started up your own business?
I wish I'd known that visibility isn't optional because you can be brilliant at what you're doing, but if not enough people know you exist, you're really going to struggle. So I think if I had got visible sooner, I would have been able to eliminate some of those difficult early years in business.
Yeah, you would have fast tracked it. And on that point, I would say, so, in your early days, you feel like you're talking to no one, like you're
Yeah,
literally like getting crickets and no one's listening or watching but they're always watching.
yeah,
I will
yeah,
say that is that you might not get a response, you might not get likes or comments, or, we're talking about social media specifically, or, replies to those emails that you're sending out.
yeah.
But people will be making note, they will be watching, they will be listening. So you've just got to keep on going. Consistency for the win, I would say.
100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And a final top tip that you could leave us with.
Um, Start before you feel ready. So when it comes to PR, so many people are like, but I don't feel ready for it. And you're probably never going to actually feel ready. Doing it helps you to be ready. It is just
Yes.
about going out there and doing it. And I think that, there's always a starting point, whether you pitch a story to the local press or you submit a guest article or guest blog post or you pitch yourself to a podcast. Just take those first steps. Just go out there and do it because PR can help you in so many areas of your business. Your positioning, reaching new audiences, helping to engage your existing audience, helping with your SEO, being recommended by ChatGPT, all of those things. And you just need to take that first step. Do not wait until you feel ready. Just do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Oh, it's an endless list, isn't it? But it all, all those boxes that you're ticking will really help to move your business forward. And it's a bit like, training a muscle, or I'd equate it to having children. You never feel ready.
Yeah.
You're never going
Yeah,
to
it's
be
true.
completely prepared. You just got to go for it, cross your fingers, and hope that you're going to be able to figure it out as you go
Yeah.
along. And I think that applies to PR, to business, to most things in life, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just grab things with both hands and just and see what happens. Thank you. I really enjoyed chatting to you. So many golden nuggets in there as well that will be so helpful for people that might be on this trajectory and not quite sure what they're doing. Before I let you go, would you please just let everybody know if they want to come and search you up online, where do they go?
The best place is on my website, dinabehrman.com. I'm also mostly active over on LinkedIn, so just search for Dina Behrman, or you can connect on Facebook. And I have a free PR toolkit resource at pitchthepress.com.
Oh, everyone's going to be running off to go and get that. Thank you. I so enjoyed chatting to you. I'm wishing you every success for the future for all of your clients as well. Yeah, it's been an absolute treat. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Oh, me too. You take care. Bye.
Bye.